The Carolina Hurricanes came and they swept the Philadelphia Flyers. So they're on to the Eastern Conference Final with a potential 11-day rest hangover if the Habs and Buffalo Sabres go into Game 7.
Yeah, Carolina's in a pretty good spot right now. They don't have to move a whole lot. They're just kind of chilling, and they can continue to chill for however long Buffalo and Montreal beat each other's asses.
That's just the way it is.
I respect the fact that, well, we'll get into it.
And welcome back, everybody, to the best music podcast on all sides of planet Earth. And the way that we measure that distinction is we travel to Ukraine and we go all the way to Uganda, but we take the long way around. This podcast is called Hey, Listen to This. And it is hosted by two dashingly good-looking men who share the same middle name. I'm the one. I'm the only. I'm the one who is not currently sponsored by Black and Mild's Ryan James Kearns.
And I am the one, the only, I am not sponsored by any truck jewelry maker or any of the ones that we're going to get into on this episode, Matthew James Durzik. And for those of you who don't know what it is that we do here on Hey, Listen to This, we listen to this, and that this is music. We talk about albums here on this podcast, and every week me and Ryan get together to discuss an album of our choosing, whether it's one we like, one we want to talk about, one that has some cultural relevance, or one that has some historic relevance. We go through the album track by track, line by line, note by note, and we pick out what we like, what we don't like, what we thought could have been improved, what we thought could have stood out, what things might drive us up a wall. And at the end of every episode, we rate the record out of 10. We give an album recommendation based on the album we just talked about. And we pick a new album to discuss for the next episode, and the cycle begins anew. So, Ryan, what did we talk about last time here on Hey, Listen to This?
On last week's episode of Hey, Listen to This, we looked at The Blues in the Abstract by Oliver Nelson. My thoughts about doing the review: I had a blast doing the review. It was like, I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to give away too much of how I felt about that album overall. But yeah, I'm always a fan of like trying to add another jazz album into my arsenal to listen to later on when I'm in the mood to listen to jazz. So now, dear listener out there, if you want to know if that was a successful landing, I mean, you can go back one and figure it out. Take a nearly 2-hour detour from this specific episode here today to get a full context of our current journey. But yeah, I'm gonna flip it back over to you, Matthew. What were your thoughts, feelings about doing the review? I mean, are we still friends, especially considering what I picked for contention up for today?
We're still friends, although I will get to my thoughts about what we're picking today. But as far as last week, that was a nice episode. I very much appreciated our discussion about it. Was not expecting the landing that occurred, though, because we have had episodes that have featured similar landings that have been a bit more turbulent. Not to give too much away, but there were some opinions that we had on the tracks we had last week. And as Ryan said, if you want to figure out what those opinions are, you can go back to listen to that episode, and we will give you full instructions on how to do that later on in the episode. But we are now on to this week, and heaven help us all, Ryan, what do we have lined up for discussion this week on Hey, Listen to This?
So for this week's episode of Hey, Listen to This, I got inspiration from the Coachella Music Festival, and like there were two acts within that festival that kind of really caught my eye, for better or for worse. One act did a completely unique set that kind of caught the world by, like, I don't want to say storm, but just completely kind of twisted the whole, like, performing on its head. And then the other act did a cover of said act in the first act I was talking about. So that one act that kind of did a subversion of the traditional, like, music festival set was, you know him. You have opinions about him. He is from Canada, and that might also make you have opinions about him. And that artist is Justin Bieber. Now, what album within his, catalog, his discography are we going to talk about here today? We could have went into his earlier works and did like a retrospective to see if it really did deserve its hate. I decided to do a more, like, one of his most recent releases just to see what Justin's up to nowadays. Because the album that we're talking about here today, which is Swag, has been, like, I don't know. It got nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys. So I wanted to, check it out just to see, like, what from the Academy drove the votes for this to get into, like, an Album of the Year contention spot. It didn't win Album of the Year, but it was nominated for Album of the Year. So now, the dear listener out there, if you just woke up from a 20-year coma, no, scratch that, 30-year coma, you might be asking yourself, whoa, what's a Justin Bieber? And also, what's going on? For that, I would ask a lot. And for the other listeners out there who are living under a rock and don't know who Justin Bieber is, let me do a brief overview of who he is as a person, a couple of his notable songs, and, like, kind of why we're talking about him here. Why are we talking about him here today out of all the artists? So, do you know Justin Bieber's middle name?
I don't know his middle name. I feel like this is something I knew for like 5 seconds back whenever he first was getting famous, just out of sheer volume. But I am going to take a wild guess. I'm not going to say Trudeau. That's too funny. I'm going to go with Allen.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
His middle name is Drew. So Justin Drew Bieber, regarded as a prominent figure in, like, the modern day pop music scene. He rose to fame. He got his, like, big start in the late 2000s with his debut EP, My World, released in 2009. That EP had him receive international recognition, and he was essentially established as a teen idol at that point. Now comes My World 2.0, released in 2010. That album topped the Billboard 200 and became, he became the youngest solo male artist to do so in 47 years. Its lead single, which was what, Matthew?
I believe it was Baby.
Yeah, Baby, man. That's how, like, the majority of the world was introduced to Justin Bieber. Let's be honest with you. Everyone's seen the music video. Everybody went on there for better or for worse, and probably a majority of you hit dislike on that music video. But yeah, so that single became one of the biggest selling singles in the U.S. His second album, Under the Mistletoe, released in 2011, that album became the first Christmas album by a male artist to debut on top of the charts. With his third album, Believe, released in 2012, and its acoustic re-release in 2013, Justin became the first artist in Billboard chart history to have 5 number 1 albums by the age of 18. So by this point, we're gaining a lot of momentum. I don't think like the comparisons were exactly there, but like we have a teen idol who's seen a lot of success, and I mean I could be wrong when I say this. The last teen idol and like young male pop star that we saw have this amount of success before Justin was probably Michael Jackson, and we'll get to that later on in our review here today. But yeah, after those albums, he had a series of like controversies. Then he released his EDM infused single "Where Are You Now," which set the tone for his fourth album, Purpose, and that album was released in 2015. That album gave birth to 3 Billboard Hot 100 number one singles: Love Yourself, Sorry, and What Do You Mean? And it's at this point, Ryan James Kearns, the one who's not sponsored by Black and Milds currently, and probably never will be because I'm never going to smoke. But like, when I hear, like, I remember hearing Love Yourself on the radio, and I'm like, oh, there's a Justin Bieber song out there that I like. Holy cow. And then Sorry came out, and I'm like, oh, okay. I was lukewarm to it at the time. I've since turned around to it in terms of like, it's a good pop song. And then I don't think I've ever consciously listened to What Do You Mean in my life. So that's that. Those songs also occupy the top 3 of the UK singles chart, making Justin the first artist in history to achieve such notoriety. In 2017, he was featured on the US number one singles "I'm the One" by DJ Khaled, and also Despacito. Remember Despacito, man?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, simpler times, man. So, following those 2 singles, he released 2 studio albums, Changes in 2020 and Justice in 2021. Both albums debuted at number 1, making Justin the youngest solo act to have 8 number 1 albums, which was that's insane, the amount of history that this guy's breaking. He has such a like intense fan base. Come 2021, he also released 2 US number 1 singles, which were Peaches and Stay. I've yet to listen to those songs again consciously, so yeah, those songs existed. And then after a brief hiatus, he released his 7th and 8th studio albums. One of those 2 we were talking about here today, Swag and Swag 2, the sequel. So yeah, that was a lot of like more background about Justin and like the records that he broke, and just like a couple of his noteworthy songs, his albums, and just like the kind of impact that this kid has had on music history. So I kind of already gave a little bit of my history with Justin when I was talking about Love Yourself and Sorry. So before I fully flush out my history, my thoughts and opinions about Justin Bieber, before we dive into this review here today, I'm going to turn it over to you, Matthew. What is your opinion with Justin Bieber? What's your relationship with him as a fan and a fan artist? Are you a fan? Are you a hater? Or something in between?
Well, my journey with Justin Bieber starts around high school and the early days of college, where, like you said, he was blowing up, first with his song One Time, and then the big one, which was Baby, which really feels like a seminal moment in history, because that was around the dawn of a lot of social media picking up. Like, Twitter was starting to become a thing, and Facebook was a couple years into being a thing, and MySpace was on the way out. And this felt like one of those first times when everybody on the internet was divided, and divided very, very sharply on an issue. Because you had Bieber fans who thought it was the greatest song to ever exist, and then you had people who were eager and keen to consider that song one of the worst things they had ever heard in their lives. And proudly, like, they would screenshot the dislike button being clicked and frame it on their walls. They were so happy they hated that song. Me, I thought that song was fine. I mean, I didn't think it was the greatest song ever, and I thought that the hype behind Justin Bieber at the time was considerably overwhelming and probably not deserved. But I didn't hate the kid. I mean, he was just a kid, you know? He was a kid who was singing songs about being in love, and you go back in pop history, you know, talk about Michael Jackson, talk about Donny Osmond, talk about, you know, kids like that. I'll even throw the Beatles in there. You know, history is littered with young dudes talking about girls. That's just how it is. And vice versa. Little girls talking about being with guys. That's just how pop music is. And then I started following my favorite music critic, Todd the Shadows, who vehemently did not like early Justin Bieber. And then afterwards sort of mellowed out when Bieber himself mellowed out, at least orally, whenever his voice stepped down from the high-pitched kid voice that he had for those first couple singles with Mistletoe. And at that point, I was just like, okay, Bieber's just another pop star. And then every once in a while, you'd be like, oh, there's another Justin Bieber song. Oh, there's another Justin Bieber headline. Oh, there's another Justin Bieber arrest. And you would think to yourself, okay, I don't know if I want to hear about this guy, but at the same time, there's really nothing I can do about it. And as his career matured, so did the lives of the rest of us. And then you mentioned the songs in 2016, like Sorry and I Don't Care with Ed Sheeran, or Despacito. And again, I listened to those songs and thought, okay, these are some bops. I could probably listen to them in a department store and not feel too much shame, but they weren't really songs I sought after. And for the majority of his career, he has not necessarily been an artist I've sought after. I've never said openly, I want to go listen to Justin Bieber. So when this opportunity arose with this episode that we are doing today, I found myself in a situation where, well, we are going to have to talk about this. So here we are. So that's a relatively brief overview of my experience with Justin Bieber. I throw it right back to you, Ryan. What are yours?
So my experiences and my thoughts about Mr. Bieber himself. When Baby came out, that was my first proper introduction to him. And I think I was more of a hater back then. Like, I know that you were kind of like, you know, meh, like, you know, it's just a kid. I ain't gonna get angry at him. But I had a lot of hater energy back in the day. So, like, you know, Justin was part of that the receiving of my hate, my adolescent hate. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan. And then, yeah, just as, like, you know, the years progressed, like you said, there was another Justin Bieber song. There was another Justin Bieber song. There was another Justin Bieber song. And I kind of just grew, like, you know, tired with all the headlines and just all the songs that were coming out because people were gushing over him because at the time he was a teen idol and the teen girlies were like, oh, Justin. And here I am as a teen boy at the time. I'm like, okay. Well, I guess I wasn't a teen boy. I was like going into my 20s. I was just like, this is kind of stupid. So I didn't give Justin the time or day. And like I said in my overview of Justin, when Love Yourself came out, I remember hearing that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, he can actually write a song that I enjoy. 2 thumbs up. This guy likes it. And then Sorry came out, and I was just like, oh, okay. This is a song. Never going to go back to it, but yeah. And then from there on out, like, I know I mentioned the other songs and his big singles from his, like, from that point on, whether it be through collaboration efforts or from his own studio work, I never really gave him the time or day. And let's face it, This is Ryan Kearns in 2016. Like my favorite music critic out there, and my main music source at the time was Anthony Fantano, from the Needle Drop. He wasn't gonna give Justin Bieber a positive rating in terms of like his albums that were released. So I never was gonna look into his stuff on a deliberate effort, kind of like you. So, why are we talking about Justin today? Well, one, I feel like it's our duty as music critics, as we are with our podcast here, our platform, that we have to dive into different kind of pop acts, whether we are ready or not, and just see what they have to offer, man. See what the kids are talking about. See if Justin Bieber is worth the salt. What does he have to offer to to two dudes who just like to talk about music and our thoughts about it.
You're right, and like you said, Coachella happened, and it very much put a spark back in his career. Like, he has, I want to say, at least 2 or 3 songs in the top 40 right now. And not all of them are songs from the album that we're talking about. Some of them are historical hits. Like, I think it was last week he had like a song in the top 10 that he had duetted with Nicki Minaj back in like 2012, 2013. So yeah, like, he's still a cultural force. So I agree with you. Relevance is part of our criticism. What is going on with the zeitgeist? Is this a proper part of the zeitgeist? Is the zeitgeist worth the time of day, or should we look at paintings and listen to old music for the rest of our lives? That is what we are here to discuss today with Swag by Justin Bieber. So I'm ready, if you are, Ryan, to jump into this. And the first track of many on this album is perhaps slyly named All I Can Take. The floor is yours.
All right, so the first track of 21. Let's go, man. So with All I Can Take here, my first, impression of the song was, you know what? Justin can sing. He can sing pretty nicely and pretty soulfully. So, yeah, I gave him thumbs up from that. And I found the production with All I Can Take to be pretty solid. In this song, you get the dreamy sense and the beatboxing, which is I think this might be the first time I heard beatboxing in a pop song. Again, I don't listen to a lot of pop music as as who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I don't have to change, I guess. But that was a little I kind of got off the rails there. I never heard beatboxing in a pop song like this. But yeah, it works out pretty well. First criticism, though, I have of All I Can Take is the chorus is pretty mid. You get the repetition of, and it's all I can take, 4 times, and then that's basically the chorus. And that chorus is supposed to act as the emotional anchor in the song, because this song is supposed to be about Justin's desire to just needing to exist in the moment and just find some peace. So that anchor is supposed to be very grounding, but if that's your anchor, dude, you might want to get it reinforced, because it needs a little bit more meat in the bone. Now, I'm not saying you have to go full Bruno Mars on it. Maybe just raise up the production just a little bit. Maybe give it a little bit more effort. Then I would be a little bit more of a fan of it. And in the last chorus here, you get the dueling vocals working together, and it creates a nice little effect. I did enjoy that pretty well. The lyrics overall, though, with All I Can Take, they're kind of mid. They're kind of run of the mill. I didn't really have a lyrical highlight here. I mean, you get lyrics feels personal when no one's listening. There's things that I can't change. Lord knows I've tried. I'm Okay. I think that was lifted off of Freebird. I don't know. I could be mistaken on that. But yeah, like I didn't take anything back from like the lyrics as a whole. Nothing anything too bad that was too cringe, but nothing like noteworthy that I wanted to highlight. So yeah. So with all I can take, like it's. I'm putting it in like the mid song bucket kind of territory because it's an inoffensive opener that kind of missed the mark in executions, but yeah. What are your thoughts on All I Can Take, man?
First of all, I'm pretty sure I just heard the sound of tens of millions of guns loading up in the state of Texas by you mentioning the idea of Justin Bieber and Freebird in the same sentence, so prayers to you. But secondly, my thoughts on All I Can Take, I'm a little higher on this song than you, because you do mention that production. I really, really like that production to start the album with, because it feels like a bit of a light 80s funk, somewhat reminiscent of New Jack Swing. The song this reminds me of most in a production and just overall feel sense is the song If It Isn't Love by New Edition, which is a song I think is considerably better than this, but to be reminded of it, it's a pretty good choice by Justin Bieber and his crew here. And so throughout the entire track, I think, it settles on a groove, keeps it, and doesn't really let go of it. So I very much appreciated that. It's kind of like New Jack Swing, but it's not as heavy as a song like Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe, just as an example. And what I really like about this light R&B is that it very much suits Bieber's voice in a way that I'll explain a little later on. But this kind of light, simplistic backing is context good for Bieber's voice. And his performance, like you said, it's solid. I really liked how he came out. He doesn't try to over sing. He doesn't try to over anything. He just lets the groove do the talking for him. And I do agree with you that the lyrics are pretty standard. Like, they're not bad, but pretty much it's just a link between, him dealing with the weight of the world and the weight of a woman he has in his arms, sort of linking that idea between, sort of baseline philosophy and deep erotic sex. And those are two themes we'd be bouncing back and forth throughout the entirety of this review, just to give you a heads up, no pun intended. So yeah, overall, I thought this song was pretty good, and I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. I have a top 3 and a bottom 3, and this falls into my top 3 at number 2.
I can respect that. I'm a little surprised by that, honestly, but yeah, I do respect it. Yeah, it's just I don't know. Maybe Catch Me on a Different Day. Maybe that it was just that chorus that I didn't gravitate towards that chorus. If that chorus was a little bit more elevated, I might have put it into a top 3 standard, like top 3 territory. But maybe at number 3, because my top 2 are pretty prominent and they're notable for within the album. But I also like to reveal my hand because I didn't talk about my hand here. I have a top 3 and a bottom 3 as well. So we share the same quantity. Now, are we gonna share the same hand? Well, we don't so far, but we'll see how the review progresses, man.
I very much agree with that, and also the first time, and I don't even know how long that we both have a full top 3 and bottom 3. Like, this has been a while since we've had one of those, which I'm kind of excited about because it creates for more suspense and more dramatics. But that being said, I will go ahead and kick it off with the next track, which is Daisies. And this is, from what I can tell, the biggest hit on the entire album. Because as of we're recording this on a Tuesday, and the charts just got released this morning, it's currently at number 12 on the charts, despite being released last year. And it peaked at number 2 during its current chart run. And I'm kind of torn about that fact in and of itself, because listening to the song, I definitely hear the hit principles in there. It definitely has a nice lo-fi shuffle that's going on and creating this relatively modern, chill, vibes-based beat. And to hear a shuffle on a track like this is kind of cool too, because it makes you realize, hey, it's not all just gonna be 4/4 marching tempo throughout the entirety of this album. So I very much appreciate that. And this is a song that sounds ready for the radio or the coffee shop or the department store or the crosstown bus, whatever chances you have, or perhaps even your own iPod. No judgment. That being said, I don't feel like this is the kind of song or the kind of pop song in general that I could see people clamoring for. Like, you take a song like Ordinary by Alex Ward or even Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, which we talked about a little over a year ago. Like, those are songs that people, like, get out of their seats for. Like, those are songs that, people will remember years on down the line. I just don't see that with Daisies. As far as my personal thoughts from an artistic standpoint, beat's solid. I do like it. Bieber's performance, I think, is solid too. And once again, I feel like the song is based on some pretty standard but solid lyrics. And I do have a little bit of a highlight where he says, "You leave me on red, babe, but I still get the message. Instead of a line, it's 3 dots, but I can connect them. And if it ain't right, babe, you'll know I respect it." Like, that's pretty textbook standard stuff. But at the same time, I do kind of like the idea of incorporating something somewhat modern into that with the, meaning behind 3 dots. Because we've all had that moment where you see those dots pop up in your messages and you're just like, oh God, what are they going to say next? So I kind of respect that. But that being said, this is another part of Bieber trying to get laid and avoid catching feelings and struggling to do so. So that hasn't changed from the first song. And I would say that this song for me goes in the good song bucket because while there are a lot of elements that I similarly feel between this and All I Can Take, it just didn't elevate itself enough for me to be like, oh no, this is one of those songs I'm going to remember, because it really doesn't sound like it. It sounds good when I listen to it, but I'm not going to be reaching back for it. So, good song, take it or leave it. It is what it is.
And for me, with Daisies here, I agree with you that the beat here is pretty good. I'm actually a little bit higher on the beat than you. I thought that funky beat was it was definitely a highlight on the track for me. I love the work from the guitar, bass, and drums. They were doing the Lord's work, creating a nice foundation for me to enjoy the song from. Justin's vocal delivery is a little, for me, like, it's understated at least in the first verse. And things got better as the track did progress. The chorus was decent for me, and a detail that I did notice within that chorus was you get that switch up in the backing band, within that chorus. But the first two, these lines in the chorus kind of they kind of threw me, and they're a lyrical low light for me, if I can coin that term. And those lines read, "Way you got me all in my head. Think I'd rather you in my bed." I've been on record here with "Hey, listen to this," saying lyrics don't matter as long as if they sound good. It doesn't have to make any sense to be good. Well, for me, that doesn't sound good. It just sounds like you're reading at a third grade level that that is just trying to pass off as a sexy kind of love song. And yeah, I'm not buying that, man. Not buying that. The bridge for me here just came and went. It was pretty much a definition of a nothing burger of a bridge. And yeah, you kind of drew the comparison between this kind of song versus Espresso or Ordinary. And yeah, I could see more people clamoring for that kind of stuff because the production's bigger, you get a bigger feeling from that. Here, while I do enjoy the funky instrumentation and it works pretty well, I can see people maybe over time getting more up for this compared to Espresso. But yeah, just the execution was still a little bit sloppy, and yeah. Overall with Daisies though, I'm again gonna put in the mid song bucket territory because it wasn't enough for me to say, "Hey, this is a good song." There were still like bits and pieces about it that I was just like, "Nah, I can't go back to it, man." Nothing like that's gonna cause me to reach out. That will be coming up here pretty shortly. But yeah, with Daisies though, like I respect it for what it is, but it's not for me.
That's fair. I think I'm just a tad bit higher on this track. But yeah, this is you say like this is a song that really doesn't push you to feel like this is a good song. To me, this song pushes enough to get to the good song territory, but doesn't make me want to come back. Like this is just a song that I can hear it, it's fine, and we move on. It's not like, oh, I need to go back and listen to that. Oh, I need to buy the single. I need to, write down the lyrics so I don't forget them. No, none of that with this one. It's a fine enough pop song. Deserves its status on the charts in a rather weak market, but that's another discussion for long down the road. I'm ready, if you are, Ryan, to get into the next track, which is the first video that this album has, at least in chronological order. That is Yukon, and for those of you not watching the dark feed, the glasses came off. They are now back on, but we are getting into that territory.
All right. So, yeah, with Yukon. I just want to read the genius song description that was written by like a fan or a contributor, and then I'll get into my thoughts about it. Yukon weaves a powerful metaphor for proximity, shared history, and a desire for renewal around an everyday object, the car. The repetition of the question in the refrain reveals a love that establishes the narrator's emotional identity. Within Swag, the title acts as an extension of the inner journey towards something tangible, connected to places and simple but meaningful decisions. I don't get any of that from this song here. Just, and it's very hard for me to like appreciate a song like this in the first place, coming right out of the gate, because I had the same issue when we did the Billie Eilish review, like way back ago. Well, there was one song within that album that was my least favorite because the way that the vocals were mixed, they were pitched way up, and it just became completely unlistenable for me. So, dear listener, if you've never listened to Yukon by Justin Bieber, that's what we have here. We have vocals that are mixed so bad, like the pitched up vocals are just god awful. It creates for just such a unpleasant experience. So, yeah, the vocals suck, and also, the production is mid at best. Like, the guitar is decent, but you have nothing else going on from there. So, yeah, right away, the vibes are bad here for me. And did you know that 2 Chainz is in this track somehow?
You know what? Every time I've gone back to read the lyrics on this track, that is how I'm reminded that 2 Chainz is on this song somehow, because of just, to me, this does not feel like a 2 Chainz vibe or anything involving 2 Chainz. But factually speaking and legally speaking, yes, he is on this track.
And that's basically my point. Like, he just says like a couple words and then he fucks off. Like, it's not even like notable words. It's basically like he's just a hype man, like, yeah. Like, what? Like, I'm gonna quickly go through the lyrics right now and just pick up what like he's saying. Like, he says true, yeah. Just, and there might be other words that he says in here, but like he's not notable. And I'm not saying like I'm a 2 Chainz stan because I've never listened to a 2 Chainz song like purposefully in my life, but yeah, there's that. And also we have a lyrical lowlight within Yukon here, and it's due to the fact, again, we're coming across a set of bars that don't sound good. It is, for those of you who are following at home, it is in Let me pull it up. Okay. It is in the first verse towards the end, and the bars read as such. In the Phantom with the roof gone, I pull up like Jimmy Neutron. I can help you get a move on like U-Haul. What? Like, are you just trying to, like, hit the member berries for us millennials being like, yeah, I remember Jimmy Neutron, and now, like, yeah, U-Haul. Like, if you're trying to, like, have, like, some sort of, like, like, this is where the Genius.com, like, song description makes no sense, because here, I find this song as like a Justin trying to be sexy kind of song, because you get, like, I can help you get your move on like a U-Haul. First of all, hell of an awful pickup line there. But like, yeah, that's just an awful, awful, awful bar. So yeah, the only thing I got to say about Yukon, you kind of already hinted at it before. It is one of the singles that was released off of the album. But as for me, we have arrived at my least favorite track off the record. This song just absolutely is dog shit, man.
Wow. That's some bold takes for Yukon. It will not get awkward. I will let you know that. At least I don't think it will. But I agree with you that voice sampling is annoying, and that's really the first moment on this album where I was just kind of like, okay, I don't like that. And I don't think it's completely terrible, but I do think it throws the whole vibe off, and it's completely unnecessary to have Bieber duetting with his high-pitched vocals. I agree with you that 2 Chainz is a presence in name only. You want to ask, is the 2 Chainz in the room with us? Because clearly you do not see him there. And apparently, from what I've read, this has an interpolation of the song Untitled from Eminem off of his Recovery album. I probably could listen to this song 10 times and not be able to pick that off of memory. Then again, I'm not as familiar with Untitled, even though I have that album on vinyl. All that aside. Yeah, I thought the production was, like you said, kind of mid. I thought the beat was okay, but really didn't do anything to elevate itself to past just existing. I'm shocked that this got a video. I'm shocked that this is a single, because it first of all, again, this song is so heavy on vibes and low on depth that it doesn't really amount to much. And the video itself, I haven't like watched it proper, but just from what I've been able to gather, it might as well be a perfume commercial. Like, it's just Bieber like existing in the mountaintops, and get these wide-ranging shots of, oh, you were in the Yukon, and you almost expect to see, Aqua de Jo somewhere popping up in the middle. Speaking of commercials, these lyrics, because even though I will say the Jimmy Neutron line is just funny, for completely unintentional reasons. It is amazing how many different, like, ad name drops there are in this song. Like, you mentioned U-Haul and Phantom. I'll throw in Yukon, which is the name of the friggin' track. Yves Saint Laurent, who apparently Bieber's wife is a global ambassador for. And it's just like, I almost respect it for having all the different product placements and not just one. Like Dustin Lynch's Chevrolet, or, even though I haven't listened to it, Addison Rae's Diet Pepsi. Not that we are sponsored by any of those. Those are just literally the names of songs. Welcome to 2026. Enjoy your stay. Aside from that, though, the majority of the lyrics, this is just a typical, hey girl, have sex with me and I'll get you all the stuff that you want to buy type of song. And this song has been done before in rap, hip-hop, and R&B, so I wasn't offended by that. But yeah, this track does suck. I will agree with you on that. Unlike you, however, I do not have it in my bottom 3.
Wow. I have to recover from that, man, because I was honestly anticipating you being like, at least having this as like your third least favorite. So yeah, maybe like This song just did a number on me that I was just like, nope, nope. And I think it was just basically the pitched up vocals, because whenever I hear that and it's not executed well, I'm like, oh, come on, dude. And maybe it's just the way that I listen to music, because like getting outside of this kind of setting, when we did the Public Enemy review, and there's those loud like horns that were in like a lot of the songs, like that lessened my experience with that review. But that review is that review. This review is indeed going on, and the next track is Go Baby. Matthew, go ahead.
Thank you. So we get back to pretty straightforward R&B with Go Baby. And I kind of dig the beat on this track, which is smooth and stripped down. It's definitely not as experimental as Yukon is, thank goodness. And I will say, my one real... I have two main criticisms about this song. And one of them is a little lighter than the other, and I'll start with a light one. Bieber is singing from his brain and his nostrils throughout the entirety of this album. And what I mean by that is he's not really singing from his heart and soul. But that's just how Justin Bieber sings. Like, he's never been a belter or a wailer like a Whitney Houston or a Michael Jackson or Tom Jones, if you want to throw that name in there. Like, he's very much a calculated singer as far as his delivery. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but whenever you get into lyrics or song material that dives into the philosophical, it's going to cost you a little bit, and I think it costs him a little bit here. That being said, though, the reason I say it cost him is because, to me, I say the lyrics on the pre-chorus of the song are probably the best on the whole album. Like, when you get to those lyrics of, when sunlight turns to shadows and it gets hard to face, like water to a flower, babe, I know you need the rain. Nothing needs to work out and nothing needs to break. Don't need to pretend that you're okay. So cry on my shoulder, just turn into me. Cry on my shoulder whenever you need it. You better believe that I can hold all the weight that you feel inside. Dude, those lyrics are really good. Like, those are some deep, empathetic, legitimate lyrics. And I was kind of taken aback by it after reading, like, oh, okay, so Bieber is very much in his feels here. And I will say, for as not bellowing or from the stomach that Bieber is singing, I thought his performance here was actually quite good. That he was able to match the sort of smooth, empathetic, it'll be okay type of mood that the song's going for. And honestly, this song would easily be in my top 3, if not for my second criticism, which is the chorus. I'm sorry, that chorus is repetitive, and it just cuts through the smoothness like a knife that didn't even need to be part of the plate. Like, you had a plate of pudding, why'd you bring a knife, man? Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard, it's not the worst chorus I've ever heard, but it just completely changes the flow of the whole song and really just kind of robs it of what could be a really nice, smooth ballad to get things back on track. But overall, I kind of dug Go Baby quite a bit, so for the only time on this album, we have a cut track with Go Baby, because I like a lot of it. Just unfortunately not enough of it to put in the top 3.
So, ladies and gentlemen, do you hear that sound?
Oh.
It's the sound of maybe slight Fight O'Clock City here. Hey, listen to this. Because, like, you put this as a cut track territory. It might be a little bit of, like, like, kind of, like, showing my hand here a little bit. But I'm going to disagree with you right out of the gate with that chorus. Because maybe I approach pudding by eating it with a knife. So, but yeah, I love that chorus, man. That chorus was just really, really good. I enjoyed how it sounded, and I think that was more of what Justin was trying to go for. Yeah, it's repetitive, and yeah, it's just him just saying, "Go baby, go baby, go baby, go," but it just flows so nice. Like, this is what All I Can Take should have been like should have had as a chorus, not words obviously, but they were going for the repetitious, like nice sounding kind of chorus. Here he sticks and landing very well. Now I will say, like, I do have one slight criticism though of the song, and it's in the outro. The outro for me was a bit weird, and it was a bit of a misstep. I mean, I get what they're going for, because they were trying to go for like an elevated, like pitched up, like weird kind of outro, but it was just a misstep in execution for me. I am in agreement with you though about that pre-chorus being a highlight for me lyrically, and I also agree with you that it's probably the best set of lyrics off of the whole album. I reserve the right to change that later upon further reflection, but yeah, I do agree with you on that. I just love how this whole song sounds though, because it is so noteworthy how the song starts. Like, you get like that nice deliberate focus kind of beat coming from the production, and then Justin coming in with the production, and they're matching those downbeats so well. It lands so effectively on my ears, man. So yeah, I enjoy the sentiment of the song. Only the slight misstep in the outro, but that misstep so hard that I didn't include this song in my top 3, because it's in my top 3, motherfuckers. Go Baby is my third favorite track off the record.
And I completely respect that. Again, this is one of those albums, and overall, like, Catch Me on a Different Day, this song could very easily be in my top 3. And if we're ranking them 1 through 21, I probably have this at number 4 overall. So I'm kind of right there with you. I just, again, to me, the chorus is not the worst thing I ever heard. It just did enough for me to be like, I appreciate this a little bit better. But yeah, like the highs of this song again are probably some of the highest points on the entire album. So I will give that to you, and I very much respect that. Go Baby is in your top 3, because it's deserving of recognition in that regard. Now, will the next track fall in that same category? Well, time to find out. Ryan, the floor is yours with Things You Do.
So, with permission here, I'm gonna, the way I kind of structured my review here, and you reserve the right to like just call bullshit and have me change this up here. With a lot of the shorter songs, I kind of grouped them together. So like with this next block here, I had Things You Do, Butterflies. If you will indulge me to go back to back, and you can say what your thoughts on Things You Do as well, if that's okay.
That's completely fine.
All right, cool. So with Things You Do, we get one of the shorter tracks off the record, the kind of how I already illustrated, and like, it's very much an enjoyable short song. Like the guitar here is doing a muted lick, and that was a nice touch. And then you get another guitar doing a counter line, so I enjoyed that. And yeah, it's just it just sounds pretty cool. Like, I very much enjoyed it throughout and throughout. I mean, like this, yes, it's a short song, but with this song here, you get Justin doing a sexy kind of song, and this is a kind of song that Yukon wanted it to like at least bringing in the sexy kind of levels. But yeah, not really. The lyrics are pretty good, but nothing really like noteworthy as a whole. Now, Butterflies though, with that track, the thing that Matt picked at the end of last week's review, between this and 100 horses, with Butterflies though, the intro to the song was fun. You get that recorded audio from Justin where he's just saying stuff like, all you care about is money, man. Very anti-capitalistic kind of like sentiment there. And yeah, with the way that he sounds though, like outside of that recorded intro, he sounds, it's pretty good, and the production stripped back. I kind of dig it, man. I dig it quite a bit. The chorus was pretty good as well. You get the use of like repeating a word after another, so it kind of creates like a rhythmic like kind of flow that we found with like Go Baby. So landing there wholeheartedly, and also the gradual like rise feeling you're getting in the chorus that leads into the drums kicking in was a nice sensation for me. I was just like, oh wait, I feel something's about to pop. I feel something's about to pop, and the drums come in. I'm like, oh, okay. I see that songwriting composition style. So there you go. The second verse though in Butterflies is kind of short, but honestly, you're gonna have that in some pop songs. Like sometimes it's all about the chorus. The rest of the song rides out the echoey chorus, and dude, it rules. I very much dig it wholeheartedly, 10 times out of 10. Lyrical highlight for me with Butterflies was when the money comes and the money goes. Only thing that's left is the love we hold. So again, we get another song that's basically about like Justin and trying to embrace love instead of like material possessions. So yeah. The only other thing I got to say about Butterflies is we have arrived at another favorite track off the record for me. Butterflies is my second favorite track off the whole record.
All right, so just like that, 2 out of 3 flying into your top 3, and we still got a lot of album left to go. So, I'll start with my thoughts on Things You Do, pretty much along the same lines as you. I dig the guitar on this, and I dig how much of a sweet and soulful interlude. So, yeah, it pretty much is just another trip into Bieber's romantic / sexual escapades. So be it. It's R&B. You know what you're getting. And it sounds solid, even if there isn't a whole lot there. But as far as Butterflies is concerned, I did appreciate that intro, and this being one of the few times on this album where Justin sort of dives back into his troublematic past and realizes that, he's had some run-ins and he's had some thoughts about the paparazzi saying all you guys care about is money and basically just telling them to piss off, which, I get it, Justin. Understood. But to me, I will say that is interesting, and the way that it transitions from that with the lines that you mentioned about when all the money is gone, all we have left is love we share. I do like that transition, but after that, to me, it just sort of dives back into the themes that we have been dealing with all along, which is just Justin being this romantic Lothario to his wife, where, it's like, hey, baby, we got each other, and, we got each other, right? Which is fine, and he sounds all right doing that. But to me, it just felt like after the interesting opening, it just sort of dived back into okay-ish mode. I don't hate the song by any means. Like, I'd probably put this... I'm willing to put in the good song bucket. Like, it's teetering on the line between mid and good, because I get it, and I don't think it's bad, but it also was another track kind of like Daisies, where once I got it, I just kind of put it on cruise control, because realistically, in my opinion, the song did too. Like, once it established what it was trying to say, it kept saying it, and then the timer ran out.
And that's how Justin Bieber writes pop songs, apparently. But yeah, I think I more approached Butterflies from the individual track mindset. I understand like your mindset of like, okay, within the album, like we're X amount of songs in now, and we're still kind of repeating the same kind of like like themes and like motifs, and I get that mindset. I disagree with it though, because I feel like the like yeah, you can have the same kind of themes, but if you kind of like do a different take on it, or if you kind of add to it. Like, I kind of enjoyed the metaphor of, like, butterflies won't go away. These butterflies won't seem to go away. That was nice. I enjoyed that. But I understood and respected your point of view on it as well, man.
Oh, thank you for that. And yeah, it to me, yeah, it's not a bad track. And there are songs. Again, pop is a very finicky beast where sometimes it just hits your ears, and you think to yourself, you know what? I dig that. I very much dig that, and I very much like it. There's sometimes where it's just like, it's all right. And then, of course, as we've talked about with Yukon, there are times where none of that happens, and you're just filled with inexorable rage. That being said, I will kick things off with the next track, which is Way It Is, featuring Gunna. And I want you to do a quick experiment for me, Ryan, because I know you use Genius.com to do a lot of your research for these episodes. Do you have the Genius.com page for this song up right now?
I do, yes.
Okay. If you could do me a favor and go to the bottom where it has what the description of the song is and tell me what it says. Because if it is what it remains it to be, to me, this is one of the most internet moments to ever happen, and I kind of love it.
In Way It Is, Justin expresses his desire to build a future with someone he deeply cares for. Dreaming of settling down and cherishing the simplicity of love, Gunna adds to this by describing his devotion through luxury and emotional support, highlighting a shared vision of stability, family, and unconditional commitment. Together, they paint a picture of romantic escape and emotional security.
Okay, full disclosure, that's not the part I was looking for, but that's okay. That is very funny, though. But down, I think it's down underneath the lyrics is where it says something about description.
Taking a look now. No, the only thing I see is like the chart stuff.
But what song does it have talking about the chart stuff?
Oh, Yukon.
Yeah, this song describes the chart success of Yukon, even though the song is Way It Is. And the reason I love that so much is because, in my personal opinion, this track is pretty much a less experimental version of Yukon with a guest verse. And the fact that it even said so on Genius.com just touched my heart in a way that, cannot be replicated through other internet resources. Anyway, pretty much the whole message of this song, as the Genius.com description somewhat eloquently put it in ways that probably was a little extra. Let's fornicate and go buy expensive consumer goods. Like, that's what the message of the song is when it's down to it. It's like, hey, baby, what's up? You want to go have sex and then go to high fancy retailers and buy all these different brand names? That's what I want to do. And much like Yukon, the list of sponsorships is insane because you got Hermes, Croc, Yves Saint Laurent again, Chanel, Bentley, and my personal favorite, Horse and Buzz. I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly, but Horse and Buzz, ladies and gentlemen, which I was surprised to find out is a jeweler, because to me, Horse and Buzz sounds like the name of a mustard. And also, the only other interesting thing about this track is that Gunna is the one who mentions Yves Saint Laurent, which, as I mentioned before, is the one that has Justin Bieber's wife as global ambassador. Now, obviously, I would want to say that Justin probably said, hey, man, could you mention my wife's thing in there, man? I'd appreciate that, man. But if that wasn't a conversation that was had, then that makes this song a lot more juicy and interesting. But I'm probably reading way too much into that, and I've probably already done a little too much on this song. To me, again, Way It Is pretty much a less experimental version of Yukon with Gunna on it. I will say, though, it is better than Yukon just because it doesn't have the high-pitched vocals and isn't quite as obnoxious. But yeah, Way It Is, to me, this song goes firmly in the mid-song bucket because,
We still haven't landed at a bottom track for you yet, man. I'm excited. So yeah, with this song here, I enjoyed your comparison to Yukon because I didn't catch that on first listen or second listen or any other listen from there on. But and I would agree with you that this song is better than Yukon, but I don't want to. Well, obviously by a good bit because like this song isn't in my bottom three, like full disclosure. But yeah, I do have kind of mixed feelings about it. So I'll start up from the top here. Like the spacey dreamy production here that you get is working pretty well. And it also seems to act as like just the home base for like the record as a whole, like as a side note, because like I feel like a lot of what this record does, with the exception of like a couple different songs, is based on like a spacey kind of dreamy kind of production. So yeah, with the way it is, Justin sounding fine here in the verses. Like nothing noteworthy, but still like nothing too bad. But I will note though, in the chorus towards the end, he gets pitchy, and I get a bit annoyed by that. And yeah, they also go for a dual vocal approach with him and Gunna in that chorus, and yeah, it's a bit dull, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit boring for me. The verse from Gunna though, when he does his guest verse, it's pretty solid to like starting out. Like he's delivering a decent flow, and he's waxing poetic about this love that he has. Like he's just really in his like feels, and he's really doing a really good job. However, the halfway point of that verse does get sloppy, and he does lose the flow of the verse, and it's just a misstep in execution there. So, yeah, and like with the chorus as a whole, like it's fine. It's fine. It does its job. Other than like the dull effect that you get with him and Gunna like singing together, and where he gets like pitchy as well. So, yeah, with the way it is. It's basically the way it is, and the way it is, it's in a mid song bucket for me. Like I'm not gonna put this in a good song bucket kind of territory. It's mid to like honestly like mixed or meh.
Yeah, this is very much an album track if there ever was one, because again, it repeats themes we've already heard in a way that's not as interesting, but similarly not as offensive. So yeah, that's definitionally an album track. And I'm kind of glad we're on the same page about that, because I think we've expelled as much as we can about this song. So, yeah, I will throw it on over to you for the next track, which is, ironically enough, not the first song, but it is First Place.
So with First Place here, it's the third single release off of Swag 1 here, and yeah, just coming out of the gate, I found the production to be a bit off in the track. Like the main riff being laid down by that synth is pretty good, but the overblown bass on the track is just too much. It becomes a bit hard to listen to at some points. In the pre-chorus of the track here, it does get a bit pitchy, and it just kind of just irks me, honestly. I mean, we've heard Justin sing throughout this whole album here so far with like pretty good execution, and for him to get pitchy, like my opinion about pitchiness within pop music, dude. Take a break, drink a tea, try again tomorrow. You have time. So like, if you're gonna let a bad cut go through, it's on you for me to critique it. The chorus, though, is not pitchy, but it's bad. Like, there are just too many words that just don't flow together. And for me, like, I feel like this is Baby's first chorus. Like, it's basically a songwriter's first attempt. Like, it's just... like, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but, like, I just hear a lot of, like, oh, hey, birthday is so amazing, I want to taste it. Like, what? Like, this is basically, again, Baby's first chorus. The reset, though, that you get in the second verse was pretty solid with the production cutting out and Justin asking, where do I begin? So I found that to be clever sonic painting right there. But yeah, dude, like, this song sucks. Like, for me, like, I did not enjoy it all, like outside of that second verse where you get that sonic painting and the main riff being laid down by the synth. Like, you get the overblown bass being too much and pitchiness throughout and just baby's first chorus. So, yeah, we once again arrived at a bottom track territory for me in Swag by Justin Bieber. In first place, it is the third single that was released from the album, and it is my third least favorite track on the album.
Yeah, my thoughts on first place. To me, this song, once again, does not warrant a video. And again, much like with Yukon, it feels like the people who made the video realized it didn't warrant a video because it's basically just a bunch of cut pieces together. Just half of it's Bieber bopping his head to the track and being like, oh yeah, man, I'm listening to some good stuff here. And it's just like, are you though? Are you really, Mr. Bieber? That being said, though, I thought the production was okay. Like, I wasn't knocked out by it. It very much reminded me of Yukon in that regard, too. Like, I thought the beat was all right. It didn't have the pitched vocals, which is a plus. Lyrically, it's about... I do get the first place wordplay here because, you know, he talks about how did we get here in the first place, and, you know, baby, you are my first place. You know, it's corny, but it works, for better or worse. I get it. And the rest of the song is basically just that, because he's like, how did we hook up? Oh, well, let's hook up again. You, me, we do sex. Remember that line, kids? Anyways, right. No one else is going to get that but me, right? I do not care. But yeah, like, aside from all that, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the song because as far as an R&B song, it's all right. It's not spectacular. You get what you're getting with the verses. I did think that the, you know, birthday taste line was a little cringy and just kind of like weird, but as we'll get into a little bit later, there are much worse things you could possibly say, and Bieber did not say them here. So, much like your other bottom track, I thought this song wasn't that bad. I don't think it's great. I would probably put this in the mid-song bucket too. But yeah, first place is what it is. It's definitely not a first place track, I will tell you that.
All right, fair enough, man. Fair enough. And I've almost got out my full rage with Swag by Justin Bieber and my full appreciation too. So, like, you know, I almost got the best of both worlds. Like, you know, for better for worse, coming out of the gate swinging, and but yeah, I've almost run my gamut. You've yet to reveal any of your bottom tracks, but yeah, will that change? Let's find out here with the next set of tracks, which I'm gonna group together with the interlude "Soulful" with Druski, and then the next song being "Walking Away." Matthew, you have the honor talking about this skit here.
Do I though? Do I have the honor? I'm not sure if honor would be the word I'm using. So I know Soulful is a track and a skit that's under a minute, but I would like to take this time to congratulate both Barbra Streisand and Cole Porter, who, as of this sentence, are officially off the hook. You do not have the most stupidly explicit racist song we've ever talked about on the show. This track is that new title bearer. Because, for those of you who don't know, Justin has Druski on this track to play this, like, role of Svengali producer. And he's on there saying, man, Justin, you sound black on this track, man. You must be, like, you know, at least 2% black, man. I can hear it. And as a joke, it's not funny. As a villain arc, it's unconvincing. And as content, it does not need to exist. And nothing in Bieber's career, and definitely nothing on this album, has garnered that kind of comment even as a joke. Like, what about Bieber has ever been even, like, intentionally soulful or attempting soul? The answer is nothing. So, yeah, remember when I said on the last track that Bieber could say a whole lot worse and could have a whole lot worse on this album? We've reached it with Soulful, and we have finally entered into bottom track territory for me with the skit, and we're at the bottom. This track sucks. I hate it. I don't ever want to hear it again. Now, pivoting over to Walking Away. This track, on the other hand, feels like a track that at least deserves to exist. I'll start by saying that. And what makes this track interesting is how, first of all, you get that beat, which is, once again, very 80s light and has a little bit more bass to it, I would say, than All I Can Take, which I very much appreciated. This feels very much in the realm of, like, Justin Timberlake mode, which, if we're being honest, is the closest thing to soul that Bieber can reach. And also what makes this track interesting is that Bieber really doesn't brag a whole lot about how much he can get laid on this track, which is a nice change of pace. And the subject matter that is contrasting that on some of these tracks is just the subject here, which is he's having a fight or an argument with his wife. And he's realizing, hey, we're on different sides of the coin here. We're having a bit of an issue. But, you know, I don't want to lose any of this. I don't want to lose you. And to me, it is nice to hear that there is room for fighting amidst all the sex. And perhaps because Bieber's relating to this from a somewhat personal, realistic perspective, he sounds good on the song. Like, he sounds passionate. He sounds very much in his element. Like, he knows what he's talking about, because this is probably an experience that he's had. And it doesn't really pull any punches. It doesn't really try to go for anything experimental. Doesn't try to shout out a bunch of name brands. Doesn't try to brag about his romantic ways in terms that are ranging from nothing to embarrassing. So yeah, I thought Walking Away was a really solid song, and we're shifting from my worst track on the album in Soulful to my third favorite track on the album in Walking Away.
Oh, wow. So you really just had such a huge whiplash between the skit and the song after that. So hats off to you for having such a memorable experience. And yeah, just my thoughts on Soulful, I'm not even gonna step on your toes at all. Like, it is an awful skit, and the only note that I have on it as a whole was, how much money did Druski get paid to say this? Because yeah, alongside the clearly racist part about this, at the very end of it, he's also asking Justin, damn, you sure you don't want no Black and Mild? Like, this is the first time that he's bringing up Black and Milds in the skits here. It's not going to be the only time. But yeah, between the clearly racist thing and the Black and Milds, I'm like, how much sponsorship money is Druski getting paid between Justin and the company that owns the Black and Mild? So yeah, I will note that I didn't put Soulful in a bottom track territory, like, officially, because it's a skit. I'm not gonna put a skit in a bottom track territory. However, I did break that rule, kind of. So for the very first time in Hey Listen to This history, I have a honorable least favorite track here, and I put Soulful as an honorable least favorite because of just how awful and racist this skit is. So yeah, we're never going to talk about Soulful again. Pivoting over to Walking Away, though, we're going to walk away from Soulful. And with Walking Away, I found the production to be pretty solid. Once again, you're getting Since sounding pretty dreamy, pretty spacey, pretty poppy. Like we're getting back into the pocket that Justin's delivered in the album here so far. Critique though with Justin and how he's sounding, it's a new just one bar with his delivery here. I didn't like how his voice drops when he says, "Say some shit." Like it just like it just seemed like he lost some steam there. Outside of that though, I do think that his vocals did sound fine. They were pretty good. The chorus itself gets the job done, and basically kind of nothing more. And I found this song to basically be all chorus and nothing else. And I mean, while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it really didn't do much for me. I think I'm gonna put "Walking Away" in the good song bucket though, just because of just how that chorus did sound and how how the production was working together. Did have some nitpicks along the way, but it's a good song, man.
It is a good song. And again, this is one of those situations with "Walking Away," and I'll throw even All I Can Take in there too, where if you throw these in a blender with Go Baby, and I was asked to pick one out of the blender, I'm not sure why I'm picking something out of a blender, but I'm going to keep going with it. These songs could well be interchangeable throughout the entirety of which songs would land in the top three, but they're all good songs. Like, these are songs that just sound good, and at the end of the day, when it comes to pop music, sounding good is the name of the game. You want to sound good, and you want it to sound good to as many people as possible. Like, it's not if you want it to be a soulful, deep diving, philosophical thing, that's fine. But if you're just trying to get people to listen, these songs very much do that. At least it does for me, and as it seems for you as well, Ryan. And yeah, Soulful, that song, just anyways. Moving on to the next set of songs, I will turn the floor over to you, Ryan, for these, which are Glory, Voice, Memo, and Devotion.
Before we give Devotion via Glory, Voice, Memo, and swag of by Justin Bieber here, I just we're knee deep in this review, and I just got a question I got to ask you, man. It's building up inside of me.
Well, I won't let you hold on to it any longer. I'll let you get it out of your system. What is that question, Ryan?
If the dear listener out there is just enjoying what we're bringing to the table here on this episode and our discussion about Swag by Justin Bieber, and they want to help support what we do on a week in, week out basis, that way we can keep producing content that they will enjoy, what are some ways that they can help show some support? Other ways that they can help connect with us on other platforms. And if they're feeling really, really, really soulful and wanted to get that Phil Collins review in the pipeline for us to do eventually, what is a way that they can send listener requests out to us?
Instructions unclear. Download a Phil Collins cover of Soulful. No, in all seriousness, the way that they can support us here on Hey Listen to This is by, first of all, continuing to listen to Hey Listen to This. And the way they can do that is to follow us on everywhere we upload our episodes, and that includes pretty much any and all podcasting platforms. Just a few examples: Pocket Cast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you go on there and look for Hey Listen to This, you'll find all of our episodes on there. And the same will be true if you go to YouTube, because we have a YouTube page where we upload our episodes every week. So if you use YouTube Music or just regular old YouTube, that is how you can find us there. And if you're on those platforms, as always, feel free to leave a comment. If you really like what you hear, give us that 5-star rating, hit that like button. And if you really like what you hear, subscribe to our feed or subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that is how those platforms work. Now, let's say you find an episode that you really like, and you know in your heart of hearts that someone out there will like it too, but you're not sure who that someone is. So you want to cast that wide net. You want to spread the word as much as you could spread it out with that knife you were going to use to eat pudding with. Well, we are on social media as well, so that is how you can spread the word of Hey Listen to This. We are on Facebook. We are on Threads. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Instagram. And if you're looking for us on those sites, you can either type our name in there and just find the icon with the black microphone amidst a blue background. Or if you want the modern route to use our username is ttheylisten. Again, that is ttheylisten. And that is how you can find us on social media. And speaking of ttheylisten, if you want to reach out to us directly, but you do not know us directly, we have an email address that can fix that problem. And that is ttheylisten@gmail.com. Again, that is ttheylisten@gmail.com. And if you want to leave us some positive feedback, some critical feedback, or you really want to request that Phil Collins episode, by all means, reach out to us because, again, we have done music reviews from requests in the past, and we would love to do them again, whether it's Phil Collins or otherwise. So, again, that is ttheylisten@gmail.com, ttheylisten on Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram, and you can find our episodes uploaded each week to YouTube, Pocket Cast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be listened to. And for those of you who have done this for 1 week, for several weeks, or throughout our entire journey, that is slowly closing in on 4 years, which is crazy to think about. Thank you. Thank you for me and Ryan. Again, we are not sponsored by any of the sponsors that we have mentioned so far on this Justin Bieber album because there are many. We are just two dudes who love to talk about music and love sharing those thoughts with you. And Ryan, as always, thank you for being a wonderful co-host. We're still friends. We are always going to be friends. And this discussion of Justin Bieber is not going to derail that anytime soon.
I would hope not, and I think for the most part, like, while we might have had like some minor disagreements, it hasn't been like as extreme as like what we've experienced in previous reviews, and even when we had those such extremes, we still respect each other's opinions. So, yeah, and the compliment goes right back to you, man. It's an absolute pleasure doing this week in, week out with you. And if I was ever going to listen to a Justin Bieber album and think about it critically, I wanted to be with you. So, yeah. Yeah. And also, my wife too, that would be fun, but I digress. But, yeah, for the sake of progressing into the back half of this review, so we can just keep this gravy train rolling, this swag-filled train rolling, I am just going to go ahead and kick it into gear here with the next set of songs being... One, we get another interlude with Glory Voice Memo, and then I'm gonna dip into Devotion, featuring Dijon, not the mustard, the artist. So with Glory Voice Memo here, you get an extremely rough recording with Glory Voice Memo, which is probably why it's titled Voice Memo. So there's that, and the guitar work in that interlude is done pretty well. So yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, you get just basically Justin singing like in a very evangelical kind of like Christian themes. So there's that. Now we're getting into Devotion with Dijon here, and yeah, this song though, it's so soulful and funky at the same time. I love the production work here. It's just, you get that backing band being in the pocket and they're taking their time with it. Like, there was a kind of style that was like drawn out for me at one point in my music research podcast stuff, where I think it might have been, they were talking about it in a D'Angelo episode of one song, where they were talking about like how certain drummers will almost play like a drunken kind of style. They'll play behind the beat, which gives it that human element. And here I kind of get that same kind of vibe with the backing band, because things are kind of you can really tell that they're taking their time, and it's almost kind of like slightly behind the beat, and I absolutely do appreciate that wholeheartedly. Justin sounds pretty awesome here. Like, it's probably his best vocal performance in the whole album. Spoiler alert. But, like, you can really tell that he digs it emotionally during the drawn out parts, which is kind of contrary to, like, what he's done, like, you know, for a lot of his career, where he's more of a, like, a head register kind of guy instead of, like, you know, singing from the gut, singing from his heart. So, yeah. And as the song does progress, the backing vocals from Dijon become more impactful, and dude, I absolutely dig it. And Dijon's verse was pretty good. Love how soulful he gets, and how he's just riding the groove that the band is just absolutely laying down. Do you have a lyrical highlight within Devotion? It's found in the second verse, and it's just a simple bar, but I absolutely dig it wholeheartedly. The bars read, I'd rather take the long way home so we can laugh and sing a couple more songs. Like, I absolutely did appreciate that wholeheartedly. So, the only other thing I gotta say about Devotion is we have arrived at another top song off the whole album for me. And for those of you who are keeping track at home, you see that there's only one spot left in my top three, and that is the pinnacle of the album, my favorite song off the album. We've absolutely have it here with Devotion featuring Dijon.
So I will start with my thoughts on Glory Voice Memo, and your idea of what it is, your description of it was on point. That because it is a very rough piece of audio where Justin's singing some vaguely Christian lyrics into a voice recorder and leaving it for later. And later being this time because it was released on the album. That being said, I think it sounds like total ass. And I think the choice to put this on the album was a mistake. I understand that there is a need to show some sort of behind the scenes thought process material in an album that's trying to go for emotional depth, but it doesn't work here. I don't want to hear this song. It's not pleasant to the ears, and even if they had just like did a mock version of it to clean it up and put it on here, that would have been fine, but they didn't, and they got to live with the results they did. So Glory Voice Memo for me does enter my bottom three at number 3 because it's just rough, man. It's rough. These sketches, these in-between moments are becoming more and more unnecessary as the album goes along. And we're not done in that category yet. But with Devotion, dude, I am with you pretty much the entire way, man. Like, first of all, that shift to authentic instrumentation is refreshing on this album. And the instruments themselves sound fantastic. I thought the bass sounded great. I thought the acoustic drums sounded great. The guitar sounds really nice. And you talk about the execution of the drunken beat, per se, about the drummer just laying back and not playing like super like tight. To me, this whole song feels like that, and it just creates this aura of a relaxed, loose, fun, no expectations R&B song. Like, you're not in this to get on the charts. You're not in this to reach a certain audience. You're just in this because you like playing music, and that's what this song sounds like. And both Bieber and Dijon sound legitimately good on this track, and they fall right in line with that authentic instrumentation. Because Bieber doesn't really have a whole lot to say on this song, but like you said, what he does have to say is positive, it's uplifting, it's very much just chill in a way that seems very, very intelligent. Like, this is probably the most adult track that Bieber has ever recorded. And I'm not saying that adulthood is something to aspire to, per se, or something like that, and I'll explain that a little further on down the line when we go through the whole review. But yeah, man, like, he sounds very, very strong on here. So does Dijon, so does the instrumentation. It's just a really good track, and much like you, I have it in my top 3, and I have it sitting right at the mountaintop, man. This track is awesome. So up top, we are ringing the chimes of agreement on this one.
We did it, Joe. We did it, man. I'm excited, man. So yeah, I can't deny that this song just absolutely rules, and you kind of nailed it, like right on the head. Authentic instrumentation, and just the overall just like style that they're bringing to the table. Like they're not in it to chart. They're not in it to like top the charts. They're in it to play music. And whenever you hear that within a song like this, it pays dividends every day, all day, 365 days in a year. So, yeah. So, without any further ado, man, are you ready to kick it into the next song here, which is Dad's Love featuring Little B?
Yes. Noted Anthony Fantano superstar Little B is the guest on this track. And this is an interesting track because it starts off with a beat that I think is actually pretty good. Like, it's a solid beat, and it really does have... I mean, it's not as good as Devotion, but that's not really being fair to this song or any other song on the album, because with this song, you're going back into more traditional... Not traditional, but modern R&B sound that's very electronically processed, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And on this track, I think the beat is pretty good. That Come Together intro, though, at the beginning is a bit corny, and it comes out of point blank nowhere, where it's just like, we gotta come together, we gotta, be one in the world. It's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I don't disagree, but whoa, what are you doing here? Like, I wasn't planned for that. I wasn't prepared for this. And then it goes from that very, like, militant, we gotta come together speech into a very cruise control sounding track where Justin Bieber is basically repeating in song form what that intro is saying. We got to come together, and when you come together, Dad's love. Now, that being said, I will say, much like with First Place, I did get and semi appreciate the wordplay there, because that's love is what he's trying to say, but it's spelled out Dad's love. So whether it's dad's loving, or perhaps the love of a dad, I'm not 100% sure, but I kind of got it, which was fine. But yeah, after you get that little bait and switch from the powerful intro to Bieber saying that's love, again, this song just goes into cruise control and just sort of rides that out for a few minutes. It's not a bad song. I'm gonna be a little nice. It's one of those songs that, again, teeters between mid and good, and I'll err on the side of good because it is at least interesting to get your attention, but not interesting enough to hold it. At least not from anything other than a superficial perspective. So yeah, Dad's Love, it's good, I guess. It's all right.
And for me, like, I think I'm right there with you. Dad's Love. If the dear listener out there is just, looking for a song to add to their Father's Day playlist, well, here's a song for you. So, but yeah, there's not really much else I can really touch upon, because it's kind of I labeled it as a longer interlude track, but you do get like a song structure as a whole, kind of. Like, the intro you highlighted pretty well. Like, it's a little like, oh, hey, yeah, man, we gotta come together. We gotta, love each other. I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, let's fucking go. And you've, the song would have benefited from an absolutely bigger drop, but you don't get that drop. Like, you just get a vibey kind of song. And I do, appreciate the vibe, though. Like, the production is solid, and the synth chords are pretty cool. And you also get that muted drum machine, which was an interesting choice, but... yeah, as the song builds, you just get Little B and Bieber just vibing to the song, and that's what its intended purpose is, and it does it executes it pretty well. I mean, it could have benefited from a little bit more meat on the bone, but yeah, it is what it is. I think I'm gonna put it in the good song bucket, so I'm kind of right there with you in terms of appreciation. It knows what it is, it does it well, and it doesn't overstay its welcome, man.
It really doesn't. It's on the better side of being an album track where you kind of remember it, but then you kind of don't. So again, that's the bar that's being established on this album, and some have failed magnificently to clear it. But yeah, I'm ready to move on to the next set of tracks of Your Ryan, that being Therapy Session once again with Druski and Sweet Spot featuring Sexy Red.
Yeah. My nickname in high school, man. But yeah, with Therapy Session here, skit's okay. Like, I do enjoy the subject material with this song, with this skit, not song, where you're trying to portray Justin as more of a human being going through a lot of struggles and dealing with the public as a whole. So, yeah, that was a noteworthy thing. I did appreciate that, especially where Druski is kind of saying, because it's like when somebody keeps saying, "Why you crying? Why you crying?" It's like, I'm not, but now I am. Fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I did appreciate that kind of sentiment. Now, I will also state again, Druski is promoting Black and Milds again within this skit here. I swear to God, he's getting sponsored by them somehow, or he's just a huge fan. So I digress though. So with Sweet Spot here, featuring Sexy Red, which is the next proper song on the record. The synth work that's being laid down is like, I'm very much digging wholeheartedly. Like, they're doing a solid job laying down the groundwork for like a smooth, sexy kind of song. And Justin's doing a solid job vocally with his performance. And the chorus is pretty good. But the one critique that I really did have on the track as a whole is Sexy Red's performance fell flat. Like, I know, like, the vibe she's going for, like, the verse is very graphic and very horny, so I'm not gonna read any of, like, the lyrics, but she's giving, hey, I'm going to the DMV kind of vibes here. Like, she's almost like phoning in that performance. And like, the litmus test that I have as a comparison marker is like whenever you listen to a Megan Thee Stallion song and she has like very sexy and horny lyrics and you can tell like she's really feeling it. Here it's just like, yeah, I'm doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this. Like, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. So yeah, that was my one main critique off of Sweet Spot. Otherwise, it's an okay to, like, mid song kind of territory for me.
So I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on Therapy Session. I do agree with you that one little bit from Druski is somewhat insightful. I will give him that. And it is interesting to hear that Justin is having these feelings, or at least telling us that he has these feelings, whether or not you want to buy it, let the buyer beware. However, I disagree with you that he is endorsing Black and Milds, because he ends this track by coughing his lungs out, and I'm sure that's not an endorsement by any stretch of the imagination, because if you're into that kind of coughing, I am just willing to agree to disagree with you on that. I don't think that's something that you want to aspire for. So I think ultimately, too, Justin might be trying to have Druski play his character of a villain, like this sort of foreign producer who was like trying to hype him up and gas him up and really understand him, when in actuality he's just trying to manipulate him. Does it really work? I don't think it does, but I'm willing to assume that might be the case. Neither in the top or bottom track territory, for the record. As far as Sweet Spot is concerned, though, I will say the sexual metaphors on this song do tend to make these lyrics some of the more interesting on the entire album. Like, not interesting to the point where I can actually remember them off the top of my head, but when you're listening to it, it's just like, oh, that's interesting to hear human beings talk about this in a public forum. I can kind of dig that. That being said, I am in wholehearted agreement with you. I think Justin's performance is fine. I think he's somewhat inspired on this track because, well, Justin's a male in his 20s. You tell me what he's thinking. But Sexy Red, man, I agree that she is cashing a paycheck on this track. And even though her flow is okay, she seems to be like sleep talking through it. Like she's like, yeah, I really like doing all this freaky stuff. It's like, yeah, I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. My only other note about Sweet Spot is that there is a 0.0000000% chance that these two are singing about each other on this track. They are singing about their own individual respectful partners. I will never believe the possibility that Justin Bieber and Sexy Red could ever be a thing, even for the sake of a song. I'd as much sooner believe Nancy Reagan and Mr. T. But that's my last thought on that.
Well, thank you for putting that image in my head, man, and the dear listener out there. But
oh, you're welcome. I very much appreciate that.
But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm glad that you picked up on Sexy Red's unemotional delivery on her verse. So yeah, I very much appreciate that. So without any further ado, I feel like we need to stand on business, man, and continue on with our journey into swag by Justin Bieber. And the next song is another skit, Standing on Business, and then that's going to lead us into 405. So, Matthew, the floor is yours. It's your turn to stand on business here.
It is my turn to stand on business here, and literally the only note I will say, and the only note I have written down for standing on business, which is the final skit with Druski, good God, nobody cares. It's pretty much in the same category as everything else, where it's just like Druski trying to be semi-philosophical, and he's not even really being philosophical. He's talking about how you pronounce the word business, because it's pronounced business or business. I don't care. Shut up. But that being said, it wasn't so offensive like Soulful that I felt need to put it in a bottom track territory. As with 405, however, I don't think maybe with the exception of Soulful, have noped harder on any track on this album like I have with 405. Because throughout this album, I've talked about Justin Bieber singing as if he's being nasally and calculated. And again, with the exception of Devotion, he's pretty much been that. He's ranged from okay to it's all right, not too bad. But at least he was trying. Here, it doesn't sound like he's trying at all. He sounds like he's slurring and blurring through all of his words. And within 30 seconds, I was just like, he's not trying anymore. He's given up. And if he's going to give up on a track like this, why should I even give him the time today? And it feels like he's layering vocals here and adding stuff there and trying to make it seem like it's this sort of whacked out, my head's in a weird space type of song. But if it sounds like ass, it sounds like ass. And this sounds like it could use a bar of soap. It's how much ass it is. So yeah, man, 405, we have completed my bottom three. It's at number 2. Try harder.
Be better. Be better, man. Have some Black and Milds, and maybe you'll be better, according to Druski here. So, with standing on my thoughts about the group of tracks here, with standing on business and then going into 405, I never realized that being the altercation that is sampled at the start of Standing on Business, where you hear Justin talking to the press. Apparently, that was a viral clip that went around at the time. So, yeah, there's that. And I will disagree with you a little bit. I did enjoy the philosophical discussion with Druski and Justin there. So I enjoyed it myself, but to each his own. And once again, we get more Black and Mild sponsorship here. So it's becoming its own laughable thing. I think it's this is the last time Druski does appear within the album. So c'est la vie, Druski, and your Black and Mild sponsorship segment. So yeah, but shimming on over to 405. I will say a lot of what you said I agree with, because I found the song to be mostly uninspiring, because just the way that Justin is singing and he's like, the way his vocals are produced here are pretty off-putting. Like, it's very mumbled and dead. Like, I myself can enjoy like some mumble rap here or there, but like you have to have like a little bit more substance behind it and like a little bit more production. But yeah, it's like I'm getting lifeless vibes here from Justin on his vocals. The production is a bit chilly and lifeless as well, so that doesn't help Justin's cause 100%. And also, talking about the lyrics here, what the fuck is up with the Spider-Man on your ass line? Like, I found that line to be just kind of like, fucking confusing, kind of weird. Like, what the hell? And the chorus is pretty lifeless as well. You get the repetition of the words, keep loving, keep loving, keep loving, keep loving, and the lifeless production with the cold synths and the drum machine. Like like throughout this album, we've had several occurrences where Justin's just repeating words and he's trying to execute it in a way that you get that nice flow, like how you get it in "Go Baby Go," like, well, at least from my point of view. But here it's a misfire. It's just kind of like it's a nothing burger. So what kept this out of being in my top three? Because it was a cut track for being a bottom track territory for me. I just I had more hate and disdain for First Place as compared to 405. But Catch Me on a Different Day, this is easily a third least favorite track. But as it stands right now, it just barely made the cut from sticking out of my top three.
That's fair. And I will say this probably the vocal sank it so much that it was a bottom track. Catch Me on Another Day, there are a couple others that could maybe replace it, because I will say I don't think the production is very state outish, but I thought the beat was all right. But again, I'm very surprised by that Spider-Man on your ass line, because I didn't even realize it was in the song. Because again, at this point, just hearing the song on its own, I tuned out. I was like, you're not going to try. I'm not going to try. Peace. So yeah, that's my thoughts on why 405 landed as low as it did. That being said, moving on to the next track, Ryan, I will throw it to you for the title track off of this album, which is Swag, featuring Cash Cobain and Eddie Benjamin, whoever they are.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. So, yeah, I will start by saying that this song is very effective for what it's doing. But what it's doing, it's not for me. Like, there's a certain style of, like, hip hop that I absolutely do not like. And it's basically that future kind of trap music, and you get that going on here. Like, the rapping is so annoying and unpleasant for me to listen to. Like, and it's like I don't need like deep philosophical bars for me to really enjoy a good hip hop track. Like, my favorite rapper is Kendrick Lamar, and one day we will talk about him. But yeah, I enjoy Kendrick, but in the same kind of day, I can also enjoy an Action Bronson, who he just delivers just funny bars. So, like, you don't need deep philosophical stuff. You just need stuff that's good to listen to. That you don't need to be on drugs to enjoy. But yeah, it's just not for me. It's for other people, but yeah, it's just not for me. The bars in the track are cringe, dude. Like, I'm gonna have to censor myself because they dropped the N-word here a good bit. But the bar I want to highlight as a lyrical lowlight here is, okay, swag, just call me the swag prince, just call me the swag king. I'm outside street swagging, I got it on me, I'm not lagging, I'm trying to turn you to a snack bay. Poetry, man. Straight poetry. Like, just absolutely hits every single time. The chorus and swag isn't half bad. I will give it that. The rhythmic flows come across pretty nicely, so I did enjoy that. That bridge though is just a joke. Like they just kind of repeat got the swag on me, but it builds some momentum, and it's honestly a buzzkill. Like, there's an anti-drop within, like, pop music that you hear, but this is like not even an anti-bridge. It's just a nothing bridge. Like, it's a half-baked bridge that I wouldn't even, like, dip my toes in or even just try to eat, because I know I'm gonna get sick from how undercooked it is. So yeah. The only other thing I gotta say about swag is, you might have guessed it, the dear listeners out there might have guessed it, we've completed my bottom tracks here with Swag featuring Cash Cobain and Eddie Benjamin, landing at my second least favorite track off the whole record, man.
I'm kind of glad you mentioned that because I for some reason I thought you had already completed your bottom three, but no, we have reached that. We have reached the final plot in the land to dig this song in. So I very much appreciate you mentioning that. My thoughts on Swag. Honestly, they're kind of similar to 405 in a sense, because this track to me, I agree with you, it's generic as all hell. Like, it doesn't like set out to do anything or push any needles or have anything else to say other than these guys got swag. And it doesn't help that, from what I could tell, Bieber, not as much as Yukon, but he does seem to be delving back into using the pitched vocals on this track a little bit and harmonizing, quote unquote, with himself, which I didn't think that was a good move. But why this song is not in my bottom three as compared to 405 is because, at least with Swag, it starts at nothing and stays at nothing. Whereas with 405, I think they produced it in a way that made it feel like something was there. Like, they put reverb on Justin's voice to make it seem like he had this soulful drawl in the midst of his chaos. And that was a lie. That was just a flat out lie that they put on tape. Here, there are no lies because there's no truth, because there's really nothing to be said at all. So, yes, Swag is... Catch Me on Another Day, this possibly could have been a bottom track for me. But as it is, it's just sitting on the outside of the bottom, just sitting on the grass, looking into the casket and realizing it's not them.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Well, without any further ado, man, are you ready to get into the very last leg of the record here? And with that being the next two tracks, with you get the interlude of Zuma House, and then going into Too Long. Are you ready, man?
I am ready, man. So I'll start with the Zuma House, and my critique about this track is pretty much the same as Glory Voice Memo, which is that it's very rough and it's very rough sounding. But I don't think it's quite as rough as Glory Voice Memo, so I did give it a pass. And I will say that for as rough as the technical side of it is, Bieber does sound pretty good on here, and I thought the guitar is kind of nice. Like, this is the kind of track you want as a voice memo. Whatever was going on with Glory Voice Memo, no, just don't do that ever again. But with Zuma House, okay, now I'm kind of seeing where you're going with this. It took you 19 tracks to get there, but we got here. And then Too Long starts with yet again another 80s light beat, which I did kind of like just for the mere fact that it sort of takes the start of the album and brings it back to the end. I did kind of appreciate that. But aside from that, I really don't have a whole lot to say about this track because it's themes we've already discussed in this episode. Justin Bieber has a major in banging chicks and a minor in philosophy. And once again, we get that on course with this track where he's talking a lot about sex and a little bit about how his real feelings are, so be it. And as far as his performance, his voice is his voice. The lyrics, I think, are kind of standard and generic. They are what they are. And I will say, this is a nice sort of palate cleanser after the previous few tracks, which were just ranging in just darkness and bad decisions. Here, at least you get a good decision. Not good enough to land in my top three, but I'll be nice and put Too Long in the good song bucket for this album.
And for me, my 1-2 punch of Zuma House and Too Long. Don't really have much to say about Zuma House. It's a nice acoustic interlude, just Justin and guitars, and the lyrics are pretty decent. So you get bars about, yeah, like, I did appreciate the I set fire, the river runs dry. Can you see her through the rain? Can you fight for her love? Can you fight for love again? So yeah, I did appreciate that. Going into Too Long though, which is what I like to consider to be like the last proper song off the record, because the last song that we're going to talk about, it's kind of like also another like short interlude kind of track, which is an interesting choice, but we'll get to that when we get to that. The production is okay. Like, once again, you get like cold like synth licks here with Too Long, but like I will say, like, one thing I picked up is you get a little awkward moment when you hear the bar romance and you get like a awkward synth chord. It just didn't land well on my ears. I'm like, I was just like somebody who always listens for like sonic painting within songs like this. I'm like, that was an interesting choice. You do get a slight skip in the opening verse, and unlike other songs in like our Hey Listen to This history, whenever I hear that, I'm like, oh man, I like that. It wasn't done very well. Like, it was just a little bit of a sloppy execution. The chorus is isn't it's just it left a little bit for me to be desired. Like, it just becomes a mumble, like hazy mess of a chorus. And also, lyrical lowlight was the moment where he's saying, keep on stroking my ego, are you stroking my... That was a bit weird. Like, come on, dude, be better. So, but yeah, with Too Long though, yeah, it's just... It's the end, it's almost the end of the journey with Swag by Justin Bieber. It is what it is, and I feel like Justin's running out of steam creatively. So yeah, that's a byproduct that you get with an album of this length here. But yeah, that's my thoughts here, man.
And I understand that. Yeah, like, there are a lot of moments on this album where Justin tends to push that line between being sexy and being cringe, and I guess if you're trying to reach out to the Gen Z audience, that's not a bad middle ground to target, but obviously you and me are not part of that, so our thoughts on that are a little different, and I think they're the same in being different, ironically enough, where we're both just like, I don't know about that one. But I say we finish things off on this Justin Bieber album with a track that, according to YouTube, is not by Justin Bieber. It is by an artist by the name of Marvin Winans, and I'm not even sure if he's an artist or just a speaker. But in any case, Ryan, Forgiveness is the final track here on Swag, and I will let you take first crack at this final track.
So, Forgiveness, yeah, it's one of the shorter tracks off the album, and it's kind of a weird way to end the album, dude. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was kind of taken by surprise, kind of off-put by it, like, as a whole. Like, it's essentially a gospel hymn where you get Justin doing the backing vocals, but a complaint that I did have about Justin's inclusion as backing vocals here, the way that it's produced, his vocals almost take over the main vocal line, and it's a little distracting at points. And another weird beef that I have with this song is it's kind of weird that the song just gets cut off real quick with a quick fade. Like, there's not any resolution. It's just like, and we're done. So yeah, that's just my general thoughts. It's a weird way to end off the album. So mid.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. It is a weird way to end this off. I didn't really pick up Justin's vocals being distracting as much as you did. Maybe that was just out of exhaustion, but I thought they blended in all right. And I thought, using this choice to end the album, I think was weird because I know that there have been discussions of religion and sort of infusions of that throughout this album, so that's kind of keeping in tow with that. But if there's anything about this song that does offend me, it could be my other theory, which is that he was trying to go for something similar to the way that Kanye West ended My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, with a bit of a gospel spoken word theme delivered by Gil Scott-Heron on Who Will Survive in America. And I will say this. If Justin thinks that this is in comparison with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, oh, honey. No.
Oh man. That's an excellent comparison, man. But you know what's an excellent thing to say about this review here, man? Since we've reached the end of Swag by Justin Bieber. The dear listener out there might have noticed that we've had 21 tracks up. 21 tracks have been Smackdown. We've filled out a complete scorecard on both ends of the spectrum. So, yeah, there's only one thing left to say about this review, man.
Some way, somehow, we did it.
We did it, man. We went up to Justin Bieber and we asked him, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And he said, "Swag." And we're like, "Dope. That sounds soulful, man." So I'm going to go first with my overall thoughts and feelings about Justin Bieber's Swag. So with this being my first Justin Bieber album that I've properly sat down and digested, it was a beefer of a one to get through. I'm not one for ever wanting to, sit down and, really listen to, extended albums like this. Hell, Noah Khan just released an album recently called The Great Divide, and it's pretty bloated. It's 20-something tracks, and it's a slog to get through, and, this was a bit of a slog to get through. You can tell this album was made for the streaming age, with a lot of the interludes being half-baked ideas, like Glory Voice Memo, for example. And then you also get insulting skits like Soulful with Druski and all of his his sayings. But outside of those skits and the track lengths, you do get some decent songs, decent to good songs, with Devotion, Go Baby Go. The song's just called Go Baby. And a couple other nice moments here or there that you can really appreciate. I did appreciate Butterflies, and you get some nice ideas here or there. Where this album does fall flat, though, is you get a lot of filler tracks, and those filler tracks do have a lot of issues going on. Whether it's with the title track, where it's not for me, and just the execution is just really, 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 really bad, and just poor songwriting. And you also get uninspired stuff like 405, where it's just hey, we're gonna write a line about Spider-Man on your ass, and not even just talking about the inclusion of Jimmy Neutron within this album here. Jimmy Neutron, keep his name out of your mouth, man. Be better. But yeah, I just with this album here, with it being about Justin's current state of mind, and you get a lot of themes of love and lust, and I find it interesting, and credit to my wife for bringing this to my attention, that Justin's been in controversies before about treating his wife like crap, so he might have made this album as a result, saying "Hey honey, I love you, we're gonna be together." There is some solid execution with that, but there's also some misfires. So in terms of an overall rating, I'm giving Swag by Justin Bieber a 4 out of 10.
So we talked at the beginning of this episode about where Justin Bieber came from, and where he started was as a teen idol. Very immersed in the pop universe, very much looking to be a big superstar. And he was. And now that we are some 15 plus years later, I have learned through this album that there is a difference between maturing and evolving. Because Justin Bieber has in fact matured. His voice has matured, his life has matured, his whole persona has matured. But it has not evolved, neither has his sound, neither has his goal. He still wants to be a mega pop star, and he still wants to be part of that light up-tempo R&B crowd. And I will give it to him. The fact that he still wants to do it is somewhat respectable, because to want to make this much music, if you want to call it that, is understandable. And I don't have any hate towards a lot of the songs on this album. Again, you do have offensive moments like you do with 405, Soulful, Yukon I'll throw in there. I'll also throw in Glory Voice Memo because that was just a sonically bad mistake. But a lot of this stuff on here is mostly inoffensive. And you do get good moments like Devotion. You do get good moments like Go Baby. I'll throw in All I Can Take in there as well, along with Walking Away. But you mentioned how long this album is and that it's meant for the streaming age. I don't completely agree with that, because you could possibly argue that Stankonia was formatted the same way, but just divinely better executed than this album was. And as much as I respect Justin Bieber wanting to put his thoughts and feelings out there and make this kind of R&B, I'm sorry, man. This, if we talk about the term nothing burger on these episodes, this is not a nothing burger. This is a trip to McNothing's, where you get the Nothing Mac, where you shake hands with Ronald McNothing and hope that your burger doesn't get taken away by the Nothing Burglar. This is the anti-Igor. This album is turning R&B into a desk job. And as much as I respect Justin Bieber for maturing, he has not evolved. This album was a waste of time, and I really don't want to hear it ever again. So I'm in agreement with you on as far as an overall rating. Much like you, I'm giving this album a 4 out of 10. Congratulations, Pearl Jam. Your throne is now vacant. Justin Bieber, step right this way.
Oh, man. Shout out to Pearl Jam. Thank goodness someone finally took their place as like the lowest rated average in our history of Hey Listen to This. So that makes the average rating pretty easy. Makes it a 4 out of 10 because we both gave it a 4. So for me, my next album recommendation, I kind of did a last minute pivot here. Because obviously can't do a Justin Bieber album because I haven't listened to one, and I don't think I'm gonna listen to another one on purpose. But I was thinking about, like, who is a contemporary, pop star that does, like, R&B and, like, it is from Canada. And you know what I thought of? I thought of The Weeknd and his album After Hours. So that's my official recommendation. If you're looking for something that can improve upon Swag by Justin Bieber, that is not as long and has better songs and better execution as a whole package, check out After Hours by The Weeknd.
So this is going to be a bit of a surprise, considering the subject matter and the subject that we have been talking about for 2+ hours. But my next recommendation for Justin Bieber Swag is actually going to be a local artist, or at least an album that was produced locally, because I have a copy of it. I obtained it from one of my former jobs, being in the entertainment business, shall we say. And that is an album called Feed the Fire by an artist by the name of Samuel Mancini. And I'm picking this album because it very much is reminiscent of the style of R&B that's on this album. Very 80s-ish, very light R&B, very soulful man trying to, present his side of the story, but also be your side of the story, so to speak. And full disclosure, I enjoy that album a lot more than this one, and it's shorter, so that's nice too. So Feed the Fire by Samuel Mancini, my recommendation based off of Swag by Justin Bieber.
So, ladies and gentlemen out there, you heard our official next album recommendations. So, check those out if you're looking for something that can improve upon Swag by Justin Bieber, or just something better in general. And we gave the whole album a average rating 4 out of 10 because we both give it a 4. That's how math works, man. So, yeah, man, we finally did it. We've experienced Justin Bieber, and I don't know if we're ever gonna go back. We might go back, but at least for right now, we could say that we listened to the whole Justin Bieber album.
We can, and I will say this as well. Hearing an album like this has put a bit of curiosity to me as far as maybe considering going back and listening to some of those older songs from when he was, just breaking out and hadn't quite hit that, for lack of a better term, pubescent stage. Because I know a lot of early criticism about him was based off of his voice being annoying, but I remember him singing his guts out on a few of those songs. It may not have sounded great, but it felt like he was really pushing and trying to emote compared to a lot of the stuff off of Swag. So that'll be my last piece on this. Now, this is usually the part of the episode where Ryan would ask me what my pick is going to be, because in our sequential terms, I will be the next to pick an album. However, we're going to peek behind the curtain a little bit here. As many of you, or as listeners may know, me and Ryan are hockey fans, and we're both fans of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they lost in the playoffs this year, in the year of 2026. And the team that beat them, the Philadelphia Flyers, were going into a second-round match with the Carolina Hurricanes. So before, I want to say either the Cars episode or the Los Campesinos episode. I'm pretty sure it was Los Campesinos because of how quick the series was. Me and Ryan made a wager that if the Flyers could continue what they did to the Penguins and push the Hurricanes to 7 games, that I would get to do the next 2 reviews. And if the Hurricanes dominated the Flyers and eliminated them in 5 games in a best-of-7 series, Ryan would get to pick the next 2 reviews. The Flyers end up getting swept by the Hurricanes. And so the caveat then becomes, okay, Ryan really was right, I was not, so now he has the next 3 reviews. So this was review number 1 of 3, and he gets the next 2. So with that said, Ryan, what do you have cooked up for the second part of this trilogy?
Well, I'm going to let Swag be its own thing, because I feel like you and I deserve a treat. You and I deserve an opportunity to get away from the year of our Lord 2025, modern stuff, and go back to the 90s. And just treat ourselves to some good music and kind of have fun with it, because only context I'm going to give you between these 2 albums. And full disclosure, whatever you don't pick for our next episode, we're covering on the following episode. So we're covering both albums entirely, but what we talk about first is up to you. So there's a debate among music fans of a certain band of what album is the best in this specific artist's discography. And it's I guess it's a hotly debated topic, or just a general topic in general. And I figured it'd be fun for us to dive into it. So the way I'm going to have you pick between these 2 albums is I'm going to have you pick between a color.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Pink or blue?
Oh boy. I feel I know which band you're talking about if one of those colors is blue. I could be wrong, but I'm willing to find out. So let's start with blue.
Oh, man. Say it ain't so, man. Weezer has entered the chat here on Hey Listen to This with our next review being, the Blue Album, their debut album, their self-titled debut album that was released in 1994. I am so ready. My name is Jonas. I'm just ready.
I'm ready too, man. I've known that this album has existed for many years. I've heard a song or two off of it, but I am ready to do a full-on deep dive into Weezer's Blue Album next time around.
Me too, man. Me too. So, to your listener out there, if you've never listened to, or if it's been a while since you've listened to the Blue Album by Weezer, make sure you check it out before next week's review. That way, you can have opinions about the record, and then you can have opinions about the opinions that me and Matt are going to be bringing to the table. But yeah, regarding my final thought about Swag by Justin Bieber is too long.
Horse and Buzz!